Hey, everybody. We are ready to go. We are. Oh, I don't have any lights on. Actually, doesn't look too bad. So I have some lights. Here we go. I'm gonna kick the light button underneath me. It doesn't look that much different. The only difference is you can see two of my lights right there. I need to go turn off. Good evening, Gloria. Good evening, everybody. So hopefully everyone got started on this this drawing. I'm gonna pop it up here real quick. It's not this. This little still life right here. That's what we'll be drawing during class today. And you should all have gotten a start on that already. Cotton117, how you doing? Welcome to day 10 of concept art class. And let me know if the music's too loud. Just it makes my office less silent and lonely. Okay, so the goal for this assignment is to not look at the old reference. I am just gonna goof around, play with some different brushes. I'm like a big fan of this chalk brush. I don't know why, I just like the square shape of it. This feels different than the standard brushes. I'm gonna start with that. Choose some colors. So today I'm going to paint on layers. Before I've just kind of painted on just the single canvas, but I'm going to use a lot more. Not me to do that. I think I have my touch pad. Oh, touch is on. Touch on. Oh, I don't like that. There we go. Touch off. Keep accidentally touching stuff. Bad news. Back up. Layers. See my still life. We're just going to start moving quick on this. Okay, so if you notice, this has a lot of the things that we've seen early on. What we start with, it doesn't really matter if I start with a color or not. I'd even start with kind of like a 50% gray. You've got the bottom plane down here. Top, lighter gray. Here's a kind of our horizon line right here. And I'm just gonna paint a background that we'll adjust later. Lag on my computer. It was darker from one side. So you can tell the light source really. And the light source really is coming from over here. Create a new layer. I'm gonna start blocking out my shapes with this. So this is kind of cool. This is just a cylinder shape. And these do not have to match up perfectly with the the painting. This is just a real practice. But we do have like the cylinder really goes like that, right? Like what we've kind of studied. And the shadow all comes down on one side. And then it's got the picture that pops up. There's like a nice little curve to it. Got this jazzy music. And of course the handle. You can't see most of it, but it comes down something like that. We're just blocking out shapes here. And then we have this ginormous pear, which is kind of one big circle and then another smaller circle over here, right? Block those out. I can use some other colors there. I kind of go one layer on this. Brush a little bigger. Strong shadow underneath it. Big old pear. So I guess I did start just doing kind of tonal first. Play around with some highlights later. Okay, so we've got the picture, and then we've got the, you know, the pear down there, like you do. It's okay to go even darker on these lines. Adjust them later. Lock in some shadow of this thing. Interesting pattern on the side. Fahrenheit 350, welcome to class. Okay, let's start adding some of these grapes. Great grapes. And we will just go dark to light on those puppies too. We'll just figure out, so this one comes a little bit lower. You can see where it kind of kisses the ground, not a ton of weight, and it has like the little shadow going underneath it. And then these ones, this is a great still life. The composition is really nice. You've got 3 grapes over here, 4th one kind of off the stem, sitting behind. Like I say, I'm not looking for 100% accuracy. My big thing is studying the form and the composition. Just having fun with it. Got like a gaggle of grapes hanging out over here. So I'm gonna tone down my shadows here just so I can doodle these grapes in. That's an artistic term, doodle the grapes in.
Hey, Wendy here from Science Versus. Our show takes on the messy world of news and internet fights to find out what's
all the grape buddies over here. So here's something interesting. My composition, we've got like a big old grape up here, but compositionally it's not jiving well for me. So I'm gonna actually retransform this. I'm gonna make it fit a little bit better since this was on a separate layer.
Geico has the insurance industry leading app that lets you manage your
I feel like it should be more like this.
which means that Geico is always there for you.
And maybe
Was always there for
I even want to
like animal control when you're cornered in your garage.
skew it a little bit.
Hi, me again. You guys said you would be here about an hour ago, and I think the possum is starting to get angry.
We could shrink it right down.
If I fed it, it would.
Bada bing, bada boom.
But now it is
All right, now I got plenty of grape space up here.
some sort of nest.
It's the proper word, grape space. There's kind of a big one hanging off the edge. There's one behind here. I think they're actually bigger grapes. These are big grapes. They're like the Costco mutant grapes. They don't know how they grow them, but they do. So good. Lots of grapes coming up out of there. Maybe you decide this isn't the shape you want for that. The beauty of Photoshop is just how fast you can change things up. Pi says that looks awesome. Well, thanks, Pi. Thanks for stopping by. So here's the lip of this thing, comes up kind of like that. got some shadows coming underneath the grapes. So this is the thing too. I think these grapes, depends how accurate you want to be, because I'm like actually perfectly okay with it the way it is. But if I want to be more accurate to the picture, these grapes are too low. So I'm just going to grab those, scoot them up higher. So what's the noise? The music or the... Is there a weird noise coming through? Oh, the music? It is a just a copyright free like stream beats. That's good for Twitch. So this is the tricky part. Try and pay attention to how light is flowing off all these. So probably this pear itself is kind of more of a 50% gray over the whole. I'm going to start hitting highlights in the dark. Highlights. How light those highlights should be. A rim light around the bottom of it where the light is reflecting off of this cylinder. Some bounce light underneath the bottom of it right here. And up here, more stroke. Coming down bottom. Same with this picture, it's more of like a 50% gray. Dark to light. Go darker. So always go, that's one of the problems is very common for people to go just white on the darks. When really you want to go kind of a medium gray to start with, and you want to hit the highlights, should never even be completely light or white. Creating some outlines on some of these grapes. There's like a highlight underneath it. And even on these grapes, I could just show kind of like where the highlights are on them. That'll at least give me kind of a start. Start make the forms out. They all have this really strong highlight. I'm just gonna pop them in at the beginning only because that's kind of the brightest spot on these objects entirely. And even though I may just end up painting over these highlight spots later, it at least starts to give me a feeling of form right now. It makes me feel like I've done more than I have on this painting. Because I got started late, so I only have like 20 minutes. While you all have had all the time in the world. See this light hitting off the edge of this pot hand. Yeah, these little highlights on these grapes, their location is actually based on where you're seeing it bouncing off directly to the light source. Those and actually end up moving around based on where the light moves. These cute little things all have kind of a mid-tone color on them. So now everybody has like their own style of like painting, and sometimes I do this completely different too. But one of the things I like to do is play around with layers and like just keep on, you can just keep on layering layers on top of it. If I grab this layer here and say I really want to focus on the highlight on the front of the vase, so I'm gonna almost do like a pure white here in my color picker. Grab like almost a whole white, and I'll even use a big brush, but I'm gonna start hitting hard like on some of the real strong light that's hitting this vase, which you'll see is like right here. And I'm gonna go way overkill on it. And you notice it has like these lines, but I'm not like super worried about those at the moment. We'll just leave them on kind of like that. Up here at the top, it has this like real harsh light coming on. And then especially right here, it kind of tapers off a little bit. We're just going to hit that really hard, and then it does have this line kind of up through the center. We're just going to go extra harsh. Let's go extra harsh on this whole thing. So that's kind of like the harshest kind of light on this pot. A little bit up here, a little bit of a light here, but not as strong. What's nice about the layers though, since that light source is on its own single layer, and I'll even hit that over the other side here, so highlight there. What I can do now is I can actually go into that layer and adjust the opacity of it. So now I can say, you know what? I don't want to finesse this too hard, but this is where I can start overlapping layers. So I can even grab that layer's opacity and start blending it down where it's not as harsh. Kind of pick up that right right amount. So maybe like 70%, you know, and we'll leave it there. And the nice thing is I can just create a new layer and I can kind of do the same type of stuff, just playing with these harsh lights. So now maybe I'm playing with the pear now. I'm still using a really strong light, but I can play with the contrasts now and not stress as much at being completely perfect. So I notice on this one, like right here is where there's strong light hitting it. It comes all the way across the pear up at the top, kind of rolls all the way around to the side. So it may look like I'm just being way too harsh on that pear, right? Maybe I'm being too mean to my pear, but the same kind of thing. Now I can go into my layers and just say, you know what, let's just tone that down a little bit. We can turn on the light, right? We can adjust the light source to really way too hot down to a little less. And with this, we could even play with some of the settings. Maybe we want some of the darks to pop out more underneath. We could even change this to normal to maybe like, let's try screen. And that would have a different effect, screening the light through. We're gonna take this way down. 0 to like 15%. Right, so let's try the same thing with a new layer with shadows. I'm gonna goof around. Okay, so the shadow, I want to try something different. I want more of a subtle gradient going up through this this pear. So I've got this new layer here, and because I want to keep this strong edge on the bottom, I am just going to grab my lasso tool for the sake of this one, and try to draw a straight line, which I am not always amazing at. That'll work. Okay, so we have this tool. So there's a couple ways I could do it. I could use like a gradient tool, but I'm just going to use like a soft brush here. We'll just pick one of these soft round brushes, like this big one right here, and I'm going to make it extra large. Okay, and we'll just make it dark. So we're going to my color wheel, go all the way to the black, and here I just want this shade on the other side to be more gradual, coming in around the bottom of that, like so. Okay, hit Control D, I can remove that lasso. You can see I have this really harsh shadow, but it's a little bit more gradual. But I don't want it that strong. If I look at the actual reference image, it's not that harsh, right? But since I used layers once again, I now have control. I can adjust that. Go to my opacity, and we'll just scoot it down to where it feels better. And I can keep repeating this process as well. That works for me. I want the stuff underneath to pop up through. If we set it to multiply, the dark stuff underneath will still pop up. And then I can still toy with that opacity so it builds off on like the textures and the shading that I've kind of done underneath. Okay, what next? So we have the harsh shadows going underneath it. So let's try, I'm gonna try and do the same thing with the cherries. So I'm gonna play with some really harsh darks on those. I'm gonna use a different brush. I'm gonna keep using, okay, I'm gonna keep using my a hard brush and do some really hard darks, and then we can tone them back a little bit with our layer. I think we have about 5 more minutes on this to play around. I'm gonna add a little bit of color in just a second. Really, I could have painted with color in the first place, and that would have been awesome. I'm gonna add a new layer. Okay, so now let's do that with the harsh darks really quick. So I'm gonna go back to pick a different brush here. We'll just use this
of my podcast,
Soft round brush size. That sounds interesting.
I sit down with some of the women I admire most for intimate conversations about.
So we want to do the darks again.
survival.
Little grapies.
Only on Spotify, beginning March 12th, with new episodes every Thursday.
Made with whole grain oats, Nature
We're
Valley
working on
crunchy granola
really
bars are
dark
just
colors.
as tasty on the terrace as they are on the trail, as delicious on the deck as they are on the dock. So enjoy a Nature Valley crunchy bar wherever you are.
You love listening to your favorite artists, and we love listening to you. So let's talk. Click now to take part in our short survey, and you could win a month of gloriously uninterrupted music with Spotify Premium. That means you can enjoy all your favorite artists ad-free. Sound good? Then all you need to do is hit the banner now for your chance to win.
And I am not a fan of this. I kind of want just a hard brush. Do these hard edges. And I'm okay. I can soften up. I just want these very... And I'm actually going way harder than I should just because I want to show how to adjust these with the... This one maybe I'll shadows underneath just a little bit. Okay, so that just shows that you hit those layers really hard, and now I can just go to, we'll just go to multiply as well. And then I can lower the opacity on those. And what I love is I can keep adjusting these and tweaking them. Just keep building up the darks and lights and shadows over and over and over again. So let's do really quick. We're gonna do on these grapes too. We have that mid tonal color too, which we started to add earlier, but we're gonna add them once more on here. So these, and we're gonna go heavy on them. But this is where the light is really hitting these grapes. And just to show how we can play with how they work. You can see the light sources going around them, but it's really hitting them very strong on those sides. Here where the light source is really full on. And you'll see this looks really harsh. But once we scale it down, just to show how this works, we can now change that. We can just keep doing that till it starts building up the form over and over again. Hey, Demetrius the Dean Lord. Stopping by. We can keep building on the layers of light and dark. And it'll just keep building, right? Now we can even use that same kind of a color and build up larger swaths on these, because these grapes all kind of have this transparent nature to them where the light reflects all throughout the whole thing. And so this might be not as noticeable, but there's this general light source just coming through almost the entire grape. And I just want to play with that a little bit and see if this will continue to pull that out. Don't know how well this will work, but it's worth a shot. So I'm going to probably set it to like, we can set it to like soft light, hard light, or one of these other settings right off the bat. That changes it quite a bit. Overlay screen has a different feeling, so that kind of screens over it. We'll just try soft light. That actually worked kind of good. Kind of playing with that. And then you can, of course, adjust the opacity of that as well. Just sit and build up that light that's popping up underneath. Now you'll notice I've kind of killed those really sharp highlights that I had on these. So I'm going to kind of bring them back a little bit. So I'm just going to grab that harsh light that we had before. You see where the light is really reflecting off these guys. But in a short amount of time, playing a little bit with the chaos I'm getting off of these, I'm able to really build these up a little bit. So I'm putting some of that shine on. There. It's kind of the grapes popping out of it. So now let's add a little bit of color now. And we'll see how it does. And so this is one of the points I want to point out, because when you guys are creating your when you guys are working on your props, this is where you kind of add the color. And you'll notice you'll add this color, but it'll still need constant like tweaking and adjusting. So you notice you kind of have the orange background. I'm going to ignore that for just a moment. You have these nice purple cherry grapes. So I'm going to grab like a standard purple color. We'll see how it does. We'll do a nice dark one. And we're going to go over that with a new layer. And you can see if I just paint over it, kind of just have a strong standard paint like purple going over it. And since that's a layer, let's just change that layer from normal to color. You can see it paints over in a color. And now this, it doesn't have to like stay here, right? If we just keep that top color layer, we could start once again just painting general color over that and use this just as a start to coloring. And now we can play with some different colors too. Here's our grapies. Some colors on all those. But we can do the same thing with color. Well, let's choose a green or a yellow for a pear. It's like a green yellow. The start of our pear. Very green. And then the pot itself, because it has the orange, it's kind of a creamy white because of the orange, so we check a less saturated. That is wrong. Do not like it. I do. Okay, there we go. Choose a less. All right, so that's a start to it. But say we're looking at this and it doesn't quite match the painting anymore. That's when we can start like painting a little bit more with color instead of just this green. So I'm going to create a new layer. And so like this pear itself, right? It's not all green like you see in this picture. There's actually some, now I want to paint a little bit more with color and light instead. It's really up to you, but it's got like some yellows to it. I go in my color picker and pick some like light yellows, and we'll just test this out. I choose a different brush. For some reason I'm just really fond of this one. And I'm gonna say, up here, there's a lot more like yellow going on. So I'm gonna paint just my harsh yellows. Kind of the yellow light from that picture coming in, and then some of the bounce light down here is more yellow. Got a slight yellow heading over here, Now I can start making those color adjustments. Because I'm working in layers again, Photoshop lets me ramp those levels down from high saturated to more pastel, and then I can keep building up on that. I decided to color pick this one. That one doesn't quite look right. I wanted to be a little bit lighter. Playing with the light. So the light on the front of this just is a lot more pure. Those grapes, of course, need some serious work. In all the meantime, you can be playing with everything. Now that I'm not using like a pure dark anymore, I'm using more color. Like maybe the bottom of this pair needs more of a color pass. Continue to play with all. The grapes themselves, so they had like this pink, but maybe I want some darker purples on the sides. Continue to build all that up. No rules. And then the background itself is still a hot mess. I'm going to go into my layers. All the way down to my background. Say, you know what? Pick like this color. Kind of orange. Start playing. Turn down the opacity quite a bit. Paint right behind my painting, and I can fix some of this stuff up later. Dark. Okay, kind of a hot mess, but we're going to turn that in. So the goal, what I wanted to show here was just using colors and just stacking up with those layers, adjusting how opaque it is, allows you to see through that colors and just continually build up. What this lets you do is not be so stressful about your brush strokes because you have kind of a redo, or you can be a little bit harsher with them and then pull them back through Photoshop, which is just a phenomenal way to paint and goof around. So we're gonna have everybody post your screenshots on Discord and Canvas, and then we are gonna take a look at your we're gonna take a look at your I can't even think right now. We're gonna take a look at your current state of your prop weapons, and we'll do that on a Zoom call. So that's the plan. So this is as far as we're gonna go. Uncooked Sword Lane says it was very fast though. Yeah, we'll go through this again. I'll go through this more slowly. I'm gonna actually use some of your projects and bring them into Photoshop and show you a couple little tricks and techniques. Okay, so this is the end of the stream session of this class. Around 7:15. Sorry, that's my time. 10:15 your time. I will send everyone a Zoom link. All right.